All right, guys, today we are doing something different and I moved the camera angle. I hope that you like it. Again, my goal with these videos is to make them better for you guys every single day, right? I want to make them 10% better. I want to make them better for maybe me. I want to make them better for you and kind of use that as a metaphor for life. So again, this channel is all about motivation, about preparation, and about growing as people. And I have something that's really bothering me, and this channel again is also about like just life in general. And I want to talk, and I want this to be an open discussion about kind of bad friends, right? And what that means, what that genuinely means, how you actually can like verify if somebody maybe isn't a good friend for you. Now, I'm not saying that if somebody's not a good friend to you, that they're not a good person. But what I am saying is that we have to focus on building relationships with value. And I think I see so many people that have just people that truly, genuinely do not care about them in the slightest, do not truly value who these people in their life are, and maybe just don't really care. Coming from the perspective of, I have a couple of people in my life that really, I guess, like bring me joy when we're friends. They make me feel good. Like, it's nice to hang out with them. They're fun to be around. But those people are not actively a part of your life. And if you can understand that, like for me right now in my current position, I'm trying to build some like close relationships, right? And so I have kind of, I guess, the idea about when I'm going to make friends. In this process, I want to know people, right? I think building relationships with people, knowing people is big, right? Knowing and liking people and people liking you is super important to life. So when you don't have friends, it's not necessarily good. Now, I would say the more people that you know, that more like it just makes life better, right? If you know some guy that owns a gas station and you run out of gas, then this guy can help you out, whatever, right? Like that's kind of like the most simple, like big picture idea. But like if you have a friend that can do this thing really well, being able to keep them around, and if somebody needs help with a certain thing, it's always nice, right? But let's focus on this for a second. So I think it's important to have acquaintances, people that you know, people that you like. And then you need to have at least, I don't know, a couple of close friends. My problem is there's a few people I'd really like to be close friends, but they're very unresponsive. They don't communicate very well. They don't consistently show up. And I think that's where we have to draw a line as far as how we're going to like go about this, right? And you have to understand that some people are not good for you, even though like they're good to be around or it's fun to be around them. But how often do you guys know people that are fun to be around, that you enjoy hanging out with, that aren't showing up when you ask them to hang out, right? It's 3 tries before they say yes one time, right? Or, they just don't support you. Like you hang out with them, they're fun to be around, but then they leave you. Or they're nice to be around, but when you need help with something that's not as fun, they're never going to be there. Or when you text, some days they just don't respond for 3 or 4 days. And maybe you get excuses like, oh, these people are just like, oh, I'm so bad at texting. I'm so sorry. Like, I hope you're doing well, right? Oh, dude, it's so frustrating because like genuinely, it's just like that person is not there and does not care. And it's not that they're a bad person. It's not that like whatever. It's like you guys don't have that connection. And sometimes you desperately want that connection, but they're not there. And it's like it sucks. Like there is a girl that I was talking to that I really enjoyed like talking to, hanging out. We like hung out like 3 times. It was a lot of fun, more in like a friendly kind of way, I guess. The point is though, like I'll just like follow up with her, right? And she moved away and I'll be like, oh, and we only knew each other for like 2 weeks, right? It was like a lot of fun to be around her, but like this girl, dude, just does not respond to me. Like I texted her like a week and a half ago, like, hey, hope you're doing well. No response, right? Really, I mean, that's a good indication that somebody just isn't there, right? And I guess like I wasn't really like trying to do anything else. I knew that she moved. I was genuinely just interested in how she was doing. Then 2 or 3 days ago, I texted her again and was like, I think I sent her something funny. And I was like, oh, like, I don't even remember, something else just to try and start a conversation. And like 3 days later, no response. She'll always look at my stories or like my stories on Instagram, which is just like, I don't even, like, it's just weird, right? And that's why I thought like I could send another one. She still follows me on Instagram. She still likes all my stories. So I was like, okay, if you're liking my stories, then like maybe you are interested in a conversation. Never responded. That like honestly just kind of genuinely hurts my feelings, right? I'm like, oh, what are you doing? Like, why are you not just like fully like disengaging or like fully engaging, right? Like, what is this like 50% shit? And at the end of the day, it doesn't matter. I guess my point is this girl is like, she's moved away. She's all over the place. I don't need that in my life. Now, this girl to me is an absolute fucking dime. Very, very pretty, very fun to be around. So ultimately I'm like, oh, yo, I'd love to talk to this girl and spend more time with this girl. However, she's moved away, number one. She's not engaging, number two. That's kind of an indication, like, I'll shoot my shot maybe twice, but then like, you have to just be like, oh, this sucks. Like, why is she not, like, what is she doing, right? Why is she not? And then we start to spiral and we start to get into a position where it's just like really fucking weird. And then we start getting like strange and we start doing shit that we don't want to do. And like, I don't know, like your feelings are probably hurt. Like it doesn't really matter though. Like we have to move on. And it's hard because then you're like, well, I just want to fucking not do anything, right? Like you're like, well, I've hung out with this person, I've talked to this person, I care about this person, but like they don't want to hit me up. Like fine, like I don't like hanging out with people, I don't like people, right? But it's so important to constantly try and build these relationships. Now, I guess I wanted to ask you guys as well, like, how do you guys find relationships, like friendships? Let's go with friendships. How do you find friendships and how do you like find people that are close? And I asked a couple people this and a couple things that I got is number one, like you communicate and you're active. Like you're actively like, we are in control of ourselves, which means we have to be the friend that we want, right? Means when they text you, you text them back right away. If you're like this whole game shit where it's like, well, we got to see what, like, we don't want to start off too fast. And I get it. We can be a little bit reserved, but like text back quick, right? Who cares? Like if you're an active text, like be on top of shit, right? Like you get text, you respond to text, like you're building relationships, you're nice, you're kind, you're respectful. And if that shit isn't reciprocated, right? Like I don't use dating apps. I tried dating apps like, I don't know, 4 or 5 months ago. Like it was fine to talk to people, whatever. But I really realized like, especially back then, before I was really doing any self-reflecting, before I was really trying to grow, again, being in a long relationship, I didn't really understand how this shit worked. There would be girls that would like not respond for 2 days. And I was like, oh, they're just busy. Like, okay, that's okay. Like, bro, what? Like, what do you mean? Like, if somebody likes you and somebody wants to engage, now I get when it's super, super early, but if you've talked to somebody for days or a few days and like, they're not willing to pursue it, like, okay, great. Like, I don't have time for you. I'm not interested in playing this game. And like somebody that really enjoys playing the game is like a player, right? Don't want to date players. We don't want friends that just kind of do whatever, right? Like you don't deserve that. Like there is people, and if you haven't found them yet, you probably need to adjust how you are communicating and where you're finding these people at, and you're finding common interest. And maybe you need to think about how you're having conversation. If people after days are like not interested in you, then then you have to move on and you have to not care. And like literally and it's hard, right? Because your feelings get hurt when you like somebody. But if you've only known somebody for a short amount of time, we like the idea of what could be, right? What this hot girl, what if this hot ass girl could be my girlfriend, right? But like we need somebody that's responsive. We need somebody that's a good communicator. We need somebody that cares. I have talked to several girls that I haven't personally found to be, or friends, guys, that ultimately hit some of those marks. They're responsive, they're respectful, they're caring. But I'm just like, bro, like you're boring. Like I don't really like you. We don't connect on that level, and that's also okay. But you're gonna find somebody that's responsive, and you're gonna find somebody that's respectful, and you're gonna find somebody that cares at baseline, and you're going to talk to these people over and over and over again, and you're gonna like work on things, and things are going to feel good, and they're going to feel productive, and they're gonna feel enjoyable, right? And like again, I think a couple of days, things are gonna be a little rocky. You need to communicate. If you're not talking, maybe like, I don't know, it's hard to say. I don't know. I mean, part of me is asking you what you think. When you look for a friend, what do you look for, right? I'm asking you. So put it down in the comments. What do you look for in a friend? When do you drop a relationship? When you go like, oh, they've disrespected me, like, and what does that disrespect look like? What is it when they're not responsive? Do you no longer put up with the effort, or you no longer do the certain things because you're like, oh, this is no longer, I see that you don't care. But yeah, man, my attitude fucking, like, I have such a like bad attitude, and I get like sad. I have this little sad boy shit, and I hate it. But I really enjoy relationships, and I will fantasize. I will imagine like, oh my God, like this girl's so cute, like, you know, like we could go do these dates. Like I get too far ahead before shit works out. And there's also like girls that I talk to, and again, I talk to a lot of different people at the gym and stuff, but then it's like, oh, yo, we can work out every day, like it's gonna be so good. And then sometimes people just drop, and it's not your responsibility to figure out, and it's not your responsibility to care, and it's not your responsibility to be better. Well, I mean, obviously we want to grow, but some people are not gonna like who you are for whatever reason, and we have to like just move on and say, okay, they don't like me, it is what it is, that kind of sucks, it kind of burns, but that is like what happens in relationships. Maybe they find you boring, maybe they find you ugly, maybe they find you, I don't know. I mean, I talked to a girl that was like, oh, like just super jealous, and was like, oh, you talk to other girls, like I don't think you'd be faithful, blah 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 blah. Which, number one, just for that perspective, I've never cheated on anybody. I was in a relationship for 10 years locked in. I was in a relationship for a year locked in, wouldn't cheat, whatever. But that person thought I was gonna cheat, which is in their agenda. They're allowed to feel however they want to feel. And then you just have to be like, well, I'm not, but like you can't fight like so much over it. And that's where I think it's tricky to know how much you want to put in, how much you deserve to, like how much you should do something, because it's like at the end of the day, like somebody that says you're something is just, there's not much you can do. I don't know. It's hard. This was more of a kind of event session. And I do want to hear feedback. Like, how do you make friends? Where do you find friends? What are some things, like, what are your boundaries that you put up, like, that you're not willing to do? And how do you go into that relationship when it's like, oh, it's so early, like, I'm not going to put in 100%. Like, I just think, like, you should put, in my opinion, I feel like you should put in 100% at the very beginning. If they don't match that energy, like, you just move on, right? Because then it's like, I gave you what I can give you. This is who I am. You give your your true authentic self. But if you don't give your true authentic self and then they don't like you, do they not like you because of your true, who you truly are? Or do they not like the 50% that you gave them? So I don't know. I guess that's the route I'm kind of trying to figure out, and I don't really know where to go. But building friendships is hard. Building relationships, trying to talk to, like, this shit's bananas. But I guess as of now, I'm just gonna go 100%. If you ain't gonna match the energy, like, then I'm just gonna, like, you just move on, right? You give somebody an opportunity. I think maybe you can give somebody 2 opportunities. I don't know, like strike 1, strike 2. I don't think like people are just going to show you who they are. It is what it is. And I do think the beginning of relationships, you have a little bit more leeway, but I think after like 2 or 3 weeks or maybe a month, you have to kind of be like, you're not doing it. You're not putting in the effort. So anyway, that's all I got for you today. Thanks for watching.